I think we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And after my board meeting training, I'm going to follow this by the letter of the law and ask, and I don't think, hi Janice, ask if there's anybody recording this meeting outside of Brianna and SCTV.
Okay.
And since we don't have any other participants, I would say. So that's a no.
Do we have to record everybody's answer?
And I'm sorry, Mr. Desmond.
No, that's really just for a vote. So tonight, Laurie is going to be our who's going to be taking the minutes.
Thank you, Laurie.
Oh,
Of our meeting. And so we call the meeting to order.
And ready.
We're going to do a roll call. And what I think the way I'm going to conduct it is I am going to call on you. And if you could just say, present. So I'm Janice Desmond, chair of the board. Leslie?
Present.
Okay. Lori?
Present.
If you could give your name to
Laurie Brady.
Laurie Brady, Leslie James, Susan.
Susan Drevich Kelly, Vice Chair, present.
Okay. JD.
JD Miller, present.
Great. Janice Lindblom.
Janice Lindblom, board member.
Okay. And Pat
Pat Carlton, present. Board member.
and Barbara.
Oh, she's muted.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Of course she is. Hey, Barbara.
Barbara
Okay,
McFadden, present. Hi.
great. And Karen.
Karen Canfield, Select Board Liaison, present.
Great. Joan
Hello, Karen.
Joan Powers, liaison, South Shore Elderly Services.
and Denise Price there. Gordon.
You're on mute.
You are muted. Gordon, you are on mute.
Gordon Price, Build a Campus.
Great.
Gordon, you should rename yourself.
I know.
And Linda.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center.
Great.
And I could take the opportunity, there's another window here. We have Ann Gifford with us, our Transportation Coordinator.
Welcome.
Hi, Ann. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Hi, Ann. Okay, so I'd like to take a minute. I think we all received our minutes from January, so I don't know if you've had a chance to quickly go through them, but maybe we could take a couple of minutes now, go through these, and then we will take a roll call vote to approve those minutes. Okay, any comments, additions, edits they want to raise? Okay, I would just note that on the top of page 2, it's Mara Glancy rather than Clancy. If we can just.
Oh, did we do that? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Sorry,
That's
Pat.
okay. I would entertain a motion to approve January minutes.
I move that we accept the January minutes.
Okay, Susan
second.
Kelly. Second?
I second it.
Is that Pat that seconded?
Yes.
Okay, Pat Carlton, and a roll call to approve January minutes. Janice Desmond, aye. Leslie James,
Leslie James, aye.
Laurie Brady,
Laurie Brady, aye.
and Pat Carlton,
Pat Carlton, aye.
Susan Kelly,
Susan Kelly, aye.
John Miller,
Yes.
Janice Lindblom.
Yes.
Okay. Minutes approved. All right. So our next item on our agenda is to, Linda just introduced Ann Gifford, who is our new transportation coordinator. And maybe Ann, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, when you joined, and how your startup has been.
I'd be happy to. Well, let's see. I started the last week of October. And can you hear me all right? Do I need to speak up?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
you're
so
fine.
perfect, Ann.
Gosh, I talk all day. Maybe I'm just running out of voice by the end of the day. So I started the last week of October, and I would say things have been running fairly smoothly as far as the transportation since I've been there. It's been a steep learning curve, just getting to know the process, and a pleasure getting to know more about the writers that I deal with. Well, Linda can overhear a lot of my conversations, and she'll just tell you that I laugh a lot with the folks that are calling in to talk with us and set up appointments, because the people we serve are just a pleasure to work with. So it's just great to be there. I'd been a volunteer at the Senior Center a couple years ago. And so when this came open, I said, that's what I want to do. I was looking for something that allowed me to use some of the transportation program experience I'd had in previous work, but more importantly, to really get involved in this community now. I moved here about 2.5 years ago and have really been looking for ways to get more and more involved. Volunteer work is good for that, but there's nothing like a real job to really get you, hands dirty and feet in the mud when it comes to getting to know the area. So I'm just happy to be here, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Great. Well,
Ann does have a terrific background for this role, really. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about your time.
Well, so the most, I'm kind of old. I could spend the rest of your evening telling you about my background, but the one that most applies probably is transportation work I did with an organization where I came from out in Washington State called Senior Services of Snohomish County, which was an organization that did a wide variety of programs, but I worked on the transportation end of it for them, and we did a lot of the traditional things, sort of working with the local, your equivalent of GATRA out there, but also some small fun programs like one called Ride Around the Sound, where we arranged trips to go out in small groups and train seniors how to use public transportation, how to get comfortable with, using it so they could take it down into Seattle. We were just a little north of Seattle, so they were able to learn how to get to some places they otherwise couldn't go. So that and another one called Pay Your Pal we did, that we had a small amount of money for folks who lived kind of up in the lower levels of the mountains to help folks without access to any kind of public transportation because of how far out they were. We could reimburse the cost for a family member or a neighbor to get them into places where they needed to go on a as needed basis. So, I just loved doing that at the time, and I was just thrilled when this position came open so I could jump back into that sort of work again.
Great. Oh, that's great background. How do you see your role limited in any way by the pandemic that's, COVID restrictions in place?
Well, we're limited on the types of trips we're making right now. We're not doing any of the fun things that the Senior Center used to do. Right now, we do only medical appointments or weekly trips for grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we're focused on right now. But we keep our one driver pretty busy with just those things. So.
Is that are you going to be in any way involved in next week's vaccination over at the community?
Well, Linda would be better able to describe how we're going to interact with the vaccination site.
Well, we do have a couple, at least 2 or 3, I guess, that we're providing rides to. Luckily, we can do that, and it's local. That's the first time we've been able to do that for anyone.
So we'll be able to do that. Yeah. What about, are we taking any seniors down to Marshfield?
Not as yet. I mean, that would take a whole other, I mean, it's a good idea, I guess, if we were able to schedule 4 people that we knew of at the same time on the van, and it would drive through and somebody would be willing to come on. I mean, it's certainly possible. We haven't had that opportunity. Because
probably complicated too, because I think it's drive through, you stay in your car and get your vaccination. So
would someone come on the van? That would be a question for the Marshfield organizers. And logistically, it's just been tough. I mean, they went online on a weekend and by Monday afternoon, most of the appointments were gone. So even to do that kind of a push with our people was difficult. The next round, I mean, this was good experience. The next round, as soon as it comes online again, and we're watching and waiting, now we're better prepared and a little more knowledgeable about how this could work for those we know are remaining. But even with all of the confusion and some people just being very frustrated, frankly, a lot have come through it and got their appointments. Some are traveling. But honestly, I don't think the travel is that bad. I know Gillette, I've heard, has just done a wonderful job and made people comfortable. Marshfield's been a good process as well for those people who've already gone this week. So, people are, the fears are allayed a little bit about the whole, where they might go. So some have had a great experience, I guess, sort of. Anyway.
Great. Go ahead, JD.
This is to Ann. Ann, welcome again. I'm just curious if you're seeing any glitches / bottlenecks that your eyes and ears are telling you that we should be aware of and or we should try to smooth out.
Glitches or bottlenecks?
Problems.
Oh. Well, I would say what I see right now is it's not so much a problem. We have really only one driver that's available to us right now, which is fine for the current load of requests that we're getting. If those requests start to pick up, we're going to need to respond to that.
So recently,
we have had to, make some priorities occasionally already. There have been conflicts. He can only be in one place at a time. So.
Yeah.
But Ann has managed through that, and especially being new, and now, she would say we've had to bring in Social Community Action Council, which you guys are all familiar with. We were just, shifting some of it onto ourselves, and now it's nice to know at least they're still there when we need them. And they've been helpful. Right?
Good.
They've been very helpful. Yes.
Sure.
Good.
Any other questions for Ann?
We could take this opportunity, even though it's mentioned in my report, but it's transportation related. So I believe tomorrow morning, hopefully we're going to get through the order for the new van. So we are getting that new van between Ann, myself, and some input from Joe, our driver, our current driver. It's fairly standard. I did not realize we weren't going shopping ourselves. They pretty much had the Department of Transportation has a van, or is manufacturing a van, I should say. So literally they're making a brand new van for us that we'll have in June. It's a wheelchair accessible. So there's 2 spots for 2 wheelchairs and 10 seats. The wheelchair spots also fold down for 12 seats. So it's much like a previous van we had. But like I said, it will be new, and we get to put our lettering on and our logo, actually, if we want, which I think we do. And I think it'll be quite snazzy.
Yeah, great.
Great. And so what did you say, Linda, that's being delivered or you're?
We're going to order it tomorrow
I see.
morning. In other words, just confirm sort of the standard options that come with it, the model itself, and maybe a couple things that we'll try to do with it, like our lettering, which I guess I was going to bring up to everybody here, just because our current blue van, as we call it, the one that we're technically replacing, I mean, we may keep it around, but it's not even starting right now. It said Scituate Council on Aging in blue letters, so we called them, I think, well, white letters on a blue stripe, I guess. So I guess the debate is whether, because our logo is Scituate Senior Center, should we also have Council on Aging on the van? Or, you know, I just have to tell them what to put on the stripe, which I guess maybe we'll keep blue. I think it could be green. So anyway, those silly things and a couple of other options.
Are you gonna, Linda, I had a question. Are you gonna put the logo on there as well?
Yes, so we can do
Like
that. So yes,
Connect community that, you know.
if they can do it all, sure. Yep.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, for my own, you know, for my take in terms of the Marcom message, I think it would be good to just have Scituate Senior Center, because that's really what you're shifting over to now anyways.
It has been the branding, yes. Council on
Yeah,
Aging.
new branding. So might as well. It's going to be driving all around town. I think it's really exciting, actually.
Yeah.
Who
I
knows?
think that
In my
too.
spare time, I might become a van driver.
We need a van driver. That's what we need. You know, oh, we do. Well, we have one woman. She's just out on medical, as you know. And
I'm kidding.
I know. In your leisure time, I know.
In my leisure time, yeah.
I would imagine you have to have a certain type of driver's license for that size?
Yeah.
No,
No?
no, you do have to go through training. If we went up to the next model, I mean, the 14-person vans from GATRA are the max size that you can drive with just your basic license before you have to go to a CDL. So that's all we've ever had or have needed. We wouldn't go bigger.
Good to know.
Didn't mean to infringe. If anyone has more questions for Anne, I just thought it was good to know.
Not so much for Ian, but talking about the branding from everything being the Citrus Senior Center instead of Council on Aging.
Mhm.
Is that,
And-
are you
Well,
phasing out the term Council on Aging?
You know, I don't want to say that because I mean, it will always exist. That's the department. That's, you know, you're the Council on Aging Board. That's the department under the town of Scituate. It's just always been a little confusing. People think they're two different entities. What's the Council on Aging versus the Senior Center? It's easy to explain. The Senior Center is the building. The Council on Aging is sort of the, you know, the department. But people have said in the past, certainly even on the board, you know, that it just implies a little bit. Council on Aging is just sort of not quite as. Senior Center is much more sexy. I don't know.
The other piece of it is just having been to so many different senior centers in the last 6 or 7 years since I started the 50+ program. Almost all of them, without exception, have shifted over to that marketing message because they're trying to become more inclusive in the community to welcome, you know, people in a broader demographic. And I think it makes it a little bit easier with the Marcom messaging to do it as a senior center rather than a Council on Aging.
And the scheduling is done through the senior center staffing, so that makes sense.
Scheduling for transportation, true. I mean, it is fun. It's, in our cases, you know, it's funded through GATRA to a revolving account, which, you know, is, you know, it's through the town of Scituate. So, you know, there is that little complication. But I think generally speaking, if people know it comes from the senior center and it's going to the senior center, do you know what I mean? It could just make things a bit more cohesive.
I agree.
But, you know, in some senior centers or some councils on aging refer to themselves as elder services. Hingham's happens to, and there's a few others. So everybody's always had a slightly different take on the whole umbrella. And then, of course, some are changing it from senior center, as, you know, has been the discussion. But people here are happy with senior center. It kind of just, it fills the need. So for the time being, at least, we think people are happy with it. So
Okay.
I think,
Well, Anne, thank you for joining us, and it's good to put face to a name.
Well, it's good to be here, and I'll hop off now and then watch the rest of this weekend on YouTube to see what.
all right, Anne.
Thank you, everybody.
And it was
Bye,
great
Ann.
to see you. Wishing you
Bye-bye.
all the best in your new role.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for coming.
Okay. So with that, Linda, I think we will move to your report.
Sure. Well, I almost didn't know if I'd have a report just because with the sort of frenzy of late, I'm not sure we've done anything to report, but I'm wrong. Of course we have. But I do have, or I did Tuesday night, I went before briefly the select board on the new budget. And tonight, after this meeting, I have the advisory board meeting to review the budget, and in particular, the new addition to the budget, which is or includes the kitchen manager and food service program. So the request is for the part-time chef kitchen manager. We settled, or I guess I suggested 18 hours to start, to cover us for maybe a 4-day-a-week congregate lunch. And then Jim helped to sort of determine the $25,000 ask for sort of seed money for the food service program. So I know I talked about it last time, and every town, every center does it a little differently, but it's money to help us establish an inventory, begin to work with a food service program for the food that we will need. Start to develop menus, determine what to charge for the lunches, and just be able to start with that cushion. And then ultimately, of course, because we will still charge for lunch, and that will offset so that maybe there's always an amount in that revolving account from year to year, but our revenue provides an offset to what we spend out of that account. So that's how I'm proposing to begin. And we'll talk to the advisory. So, and just, I did mention it in the report, which I'm sorry if I sent a little late. It was just logistics tonight. But the budget amount now is $253,000, up from last year's, which was $206,000, with this new position. But the original quest had been for $204,000, obviously, and some change, which would seem odd because we're opening up a new building, and yet the budget amount was almost less, or actually less. And the reason for that is because of the 2 utility line items, the electric and gas, that were being shifted over to the facilities budget for him to cover. And that was estimated that it might be $50,000. And again, we'll see, he might have put in a little bit more, but that was our estimate. So that's what I would have been including in my budget, which would have raised it that amount. But now instead we're raising it by $47,000 for the part-time position for the chef at $25 an hour, 18 hours, and then the $25,000 for the seed money if it gets approved. So I think the Board of Selectmen and Karen can talk about that. I think they vote on that next week, but the advisory is tonight. So I know I mentioned last time. Anyone have any questions on that before I move on? Okay.
Yeah.
The AARP Tax Aid Assistance Program, very happy to have them coming on board. We have about 50 people scheduled for that service thus far. The scheduling or the appointments don't begin until March 5th. And we are beginning those appointments in the Harbor Community Building just because we knew we might not be quite ready to have people inside our building in any way. So just as well, it's still a good space for them. The intake meeting or the initial meeting is the only time the volunteers meet with the clients to scan some documents and have a brief intake with them with masks and distance. And there's a few volunteers. They can spread out in separate rooms. So I'm excited about that. We are fielding people from primarily, I guess maybe I would say Hingham, Cohasset, Hull, potentially because Hingham always did it and we had to send people there. And doesn't it figure that now we're getting it and they're not because of their space and the fact that they really can't be open to having that at this time. So kind of ironic, but so we, we've always sent, people have always accepted regional clients, so we have to do the same.
Well, of the about 50 you have scheduled, how many of those are Scituate people? Is it?
Jill seems to think 60% us and maybe 30-40% them out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So probably a fair amount who are accustomed to having it done and had to find another place to come.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And we could still get more. Our outreach coordinator position is now available. Jenny Gerbis gave her notice and is leaving us next week. She is going to work for Wellspring in Hull as director of their outreach.
Oh,
So I now have, 3 positions and then potentially 4 with the kitchen person to hire. So it's been a little delayed. You knew I was delaying initially the activities coordinator, but now I'm not. We're ready to, review job descriptions and post hopefully next week for the 2 of them, and have been posting the driver position. We have 1 interview tomorrow.
Linda, could I just ask a question on that? So just in terms of being able to provide you with some assistance on this, because now that's like a lot. So with those 2 positions, I think you mentioned that you have to post them internally, but are they ready yet to be posted externally?
No.
No, okay.
But they could be next week. Well, if they post internally for a week and I'm ready to post next week, then that would be the schedule, 1 week.
I see. Okay. So I would just say to you that once, if you don't get enough applicants or satisfactory applicants, definitely let me know, because we can, post it through the 50+ program, and I've got 1,000 people there. So I'm sure that there's probably a few people floating around that could be potential candidates.
Okay.
well, you're not required to hire internally just because you have to post it there.
You have to post it there, but I think it has to be posted internally before it can be posted externally.
Right.
Most of the positions are. I will say that these 2 are not union positions. They're non-union, so there may be, that may not require us to do it internally. And I was just going to say that's a little bit up to the HR at this point. So
yeah, just let me know, because we've had quite a few 50-plussers that have successfully landed jobs within other senior centers and other in the state. So that, a lot of people want to go nonprofit. So there are a lot of people that are sort of chomping at the bit for opportunities.
Good work. I don't blame them. I love my job still. Okay, I did provide a couple of responses or, contributed to the articles in the Mariner this past, month. One was on the vaccine for 75+ and how it was rolling out. And another was, of course, Gordon's article on the room naming campaign. But it was nice of Ruth to ask me. We were trying to get some CPR training in because we all need it. We have to do it every 2 years. But it was difficult. Actually, Mark Donovan's schedule, and he was doing it, I think. Oh, that was Tuesday night, and I couldn't go. So we're waiting for the new building and maybe the new positions to be filled, so we might as well all get it at the same time. So I have put that off.
It seems like that would be difficult during COVID.
He felt he was able to do it at the First Parish fire station, and he did do it actually for 4 people, I believe, who were part from the recreation department. But, maybe limiting the numbers, yes. And we use a dummy anyway. So he could do it. We've all done it before. It is a review. I have done some constant contact updates. I've done my best to keep up and try to at least feature some things, but mostly, of course, the vaccine took precedence. I did get a lovely donation from Rocco's Barber Shop today. I just thought I'd mention that because Frank and Sal, apparently they had some Rocco's masks made and they sold them to raise money and gave us the profits from their selling of those masks. So you can ask everybody that you see with a Rocco's mask or thank them because we got the extra money and that was very nice. So, spread that around. They did donate last year as well after Gingerbread House, I believe, that they raffled off and we got the proceeds from that. Very nice of them. Programs and activities, sorry? Question? Not too changed. Programs and activities, we're just maintaining, frankly, with the current schedule for Zoom, for some in person after a brief hiatus. I am grateful to even the exercise instructors who are just, taking their small groups and managing them. We've got Zumba and the balance and strength class. I mean, they're fabulous in the gym. My Tai Chi people. And as well, the SCTV fitness videos do still run daily for the most part. And Bob Jackman, heroic efforts on his part with, computer problems sometimes and this and that. And he does it for us. He does it for Marshfield. He does it for Cohasset. And it isn't an easy process, my receiving from him and getting it up to Seth for the cable broadcast and then also into a YouTube format and getting it out to our people. But, it's been worthwhile. And so we are grateful to all of them. In addition, the grief support group, thanks to Susan Kelly, the caregiver support group, a Parkinson's support group has continued weekly with the facilitator there. And the job seekers networking group, which, Susan may have a little something to report if you want on that.
Yeah.
Outdoor, the die-hard pickleball players, unless the weather is inclement or the courts are not safe, which of course they aren't right now, but they were playing up to a week ago, if not more. But they have moved indoors, very limited interest in indoors, but some. So we're keeping it open on Fridays for that. I will say that upcoming, there is a Zoom taping that we're doing with District Attorney Tim Cruz. And it's on scams, in particular the grandparent scam, but other scams that are becoming, unfortunately, more prevalent. So we're taping with him, myself, and I enlisted a couple of volunteers for that to sort of ask questions of Tim, which gives him a format to explain what's going on with the scams. We're recording that on the 23rd with Seth as well on Zoom, and then providing it on cable for people to watch and YouTube. So that's nice. That's a nice something different. I also have had an issue that's been ongoing, and I've mentioned before, for the Poor Softball League, which has run for 20 years without any issues, and then they just had a terrible time this year, not only with COVID and making adjustments for that, but once Kevin McLaughlin gave up the reins, so to speak. He was sort of a one-man show for many years, and he did a great job. And we didn't have a lot of interaction with it, but we still supported it and sponsored it, so to speak. But then they went to a sort of multi-person board just to help manage the activity. But then they had an incident, and from that incident, there's become just more and more difficulty between this one person who they asked to leave, and now it's just become difficult for them. So I'm getting more involved. The town, unfortunately, has been somewhat involved. At one point, we had to enlist the services of our town council for some advice. And I think what they hope is that ultimately it becomes more of a Council on Aging senior center program. Even though it could be regional, it's fine. Everything is regional, technically. But just to sort of have the umbrella sponsorship or alignment with the town and a town department, that just makes some things a little bit easier for them. They don't want to be flailing out there as individuals who are just volunteers trying to do the best they can, and are getting a tremendous amount of flack for what they're trying to do or what they've been doing. So that's just something that's been ongoing. So, we'll start to advertise a little bit more in the newsletter, see if we can get, there can be Scituate people, it can be out of town. But it's a great league, and we want it to continue. So transportation, you heard about the van already and what we're doing for transportation. And honestly, it's been a little bit of a challenge for Ann just with the one driver and having to sometimes prioritize things. But so it's been busy considering that we're only doing a few different rides. It's still been quite busy. And, kudos, honestly, the fact that we have kept transportation up continually since last March, even when everything else closed down. Our drivers or those drivers who were willing have kept up transportation the entire time. And sometimes it does include prescription pickup, but it is starting to gear up again. Outreach. So Jenny, certainly hard shoes to fill for some of what she does, no doubt with her support of people who are, she's been doing this since before I came, 2013, I believe. So at the same time, I think it might be a nice opportunity to look at some of the skills like social worker potentially, that although we do have that on the town side now with Erica, who you met, it might be nice to have that for our position. So that's why I'm relooking at the job description. We do have another event that I had, Jenny had begun to work on that we thought we would do ourselves. We had applied for a small grant through SANS, but we didn't get that grant because it wasn't COVID related enough. But we had wanted to do a shredding event for our community or the seniors. So now Scituate Community Christmas and SANS are doing a shredding event that we are participating in or contributing to. So we helped to set that up. It's going to be March 20th. They're using the former MBTA lot at Greenbush. They're going to have dumpsters. It's a little bit more than just shredding, but we'll be involved and we'll help to promote it and make sure our people are aware of it. Because everybody's cleaning out right now, organizing.
Good.
Linda, what is the date on that again? I'm sorry.
March 20th.
Okay, that's what I wrote down.
So I'll mention one other thing before we get into the vaccine. But I had a volunteer helping to work on this, Ann Vignani, and she will continue, but we initiated something with the high school. I think I might have mentioned last time, a seniors to seniors, words of wisdom from our seniors to the graduating students or all the students at the high school, but just some inspirational words or times they may have come through challenges that they might want to express. So I really have had some wonderful submissions from people, some short and some longer. Thank Joan Powers here. She did a wonderful letter. So I provided or I'm providing to them for tomorrow and then throughout the month of February, because they're on vacation next week, some sort of cards, Valentine-like cards that have some of the shorter sayings that people submitted, and then the letters rolled up like scrolls. And they're going to have a display at the school, so some on a board. I did do a slideshow that shows the cards as well if they wanted to just look at it. And then they could take what they wanted for a little, bookmark or inspiration or just to read. And the school, I believe, and the senior class officers may want to get involved with initiating something from the students back to our seniors. So we'll see how that evolves. But it's been a nice little project to work on for Valentine's month. So wanted to let you know about that. And then otherwise, it's all been about the vaccine. So I will say, honestly, up until yesterday, we almost really couldn't do anything except provide customer service and assurances that this is the landscape right now, and we know that you just need to be patient. I've been on a couple of meetings with the state that first week because every council on aging, every senior center was complaining that they didn't have any information or any way to help, which we didn't. Unless we knew there was an appointment on the other end, there's nothing we could do to create that appointment or to help that person with the process. Marshfield, sadly, even though I knew about it and certainly did my best to announce it to people, it came online on a weekend. And I did sign up a few people because I got through to it, but they were almost gone by the time we came back into work on Monday. So we're waiting for the next round for Marshfield, but yesterday the Scituate clinic came online. So the town of Scituate was getting 80 or so doses. They were getting some to complete the first responders that hadn't been done yet. So they needed to reserve some of those, and they knew they'd have so many left, or they hoped they would have so many. So then it went online yesterday, and we did help quite a few people. We probably helped 20 people get on out of the maybe 80 that are signed up. And it was just 75 and over. And I know today there was some confusion because, well, most of the appointments were taken, if not really virtually all the appointments were taken today. But there is a wait list. So if things change, people could be on the wait list. Maybe they'll get more vaccines by then. That's doubtful, but you never know. But the announcement by Governor Baker did confuse people yesterday about being able to be a companion and get the vaccine along with someone else. But that really is not intended for these small clinics who don't have those extra appointments or doses for the extra appointments. So if you go to Gillette, or if you can make an appointment for Gillette next week, you could make 2 appointments, and there is a new selection for being a companion to a 75 plus person. Whereas right now for our clinic, there is not that selection. You can't make it, and you don't qualify with any of the other eligibility criteria. So that was clarified for me today as well. I mean, it was new information. We didn't know that. The other thing that had come online was the 211 call center. So I knew about it coming. I only, and then then it just came. So that's great. I think people have been helped by that. You do get a person, but they are only as good, again, as the appointments available and how far the person is willing to go for that appointment. So you could make that call, and they could say, well, there's some at Gillette, and they'll say, well, I don't want to go to Gillette. I want to go to CVS in Hanover. Well, there are no appointments in CVS in Hanover, which is what we would have found anyway. So it is helpful. Absolutely use it 211, but it's only as good as the appointments that are available, and more are coming online. And our state reps have been very good about providing that information on social media. So that's partly how I'm getting it. Certainly Jim is getting some information and feeding it out during the town update. But that's what we have tried to be, is just a touch point when we can. I've at least tried keeping the information available to people, even without always the personal return calls, just because we have over 270 people who've left messages and some multiple messages, frankly. So it's hard to know and keep track. And many of our calls yesterday resulted in people telling us they're all set, which is great. But, we don't know that until we call them. So we're taking the time out to, say hello and find out they're all set, which is also good.
Can I ask, Linda, did you hear anything about Carewell Urgent Care Clinic over in Norwell?
Well, only recently.
Yeah.
I saw it in some sort of back door. It wasn't really being listed with all the other available sites generally, but then I did see it. I don't know why I saw it.
My daughter called and said that they were offering vaccines to teachers and people over 75. So I called my sister. She left her number, and they called her back in about 2 days, and she got the vaccine.
Wonderful. Well, somebody else mentioned that their daughter-in-law was taking them there. They weren't thrilled because they're also doing testing at the same time as the vaccinations, and she was a little uncomfortable with that, but she appreciated the effort of her daughter-in-law, so she was going.
Yeah.
So people have found various ways, and I think we were grateful when the hospital network, the Brigham and Women's and Beth Israel patients within those networks were being contacted, and that really helped to offload some who were concerned, but now their doctors' networks were taking care of getting those appointments too.
Do you have any sense as to when they're going to move on to part 2 of phase 2?
I don't. I probably shouldn't guess. I mean, I have a guess. Maybe Drew might have mentioned his guess, but I don't really know. Nope, I haven't had any official word on that. So, I'm sure they would like to feel like they're getting through the bulk of the 75 plus. And honestly, that 65 to 74, that's huge. There's a lot of people in that.
Well, now that they've added the, caregivers of the 75 and plus people, that's going to increase a huge number of people.
That could be.
I mean, 75 plus is more than 500,000 people.
Here in the state?
Yes. So I think there's a long way to go.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only time I actually wished I could be old.
No, you don't.
Well, yeah, so it remains to be seen. I just don't know when they want to open that gate, just because that's going to really flood the market, so to speak. That's all but, maybe by the end of the month.
It actually was sort of, it's a little, not really off topic, but it was actually a little discouraging to see that Massachusetts got a really bad report card in terms of how they're handling.
Yeah.
I mean, got lots of D's and F's compared to other states.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, I was on a couple of calls with the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and the Secretary of Elder Affairs, and I mean, their message was help us to frame expectations, that it wasn't a sprint, that it wasn't, the expectation shouldn't have been, oh, we opened, now you're eligible, here's your vaccine, it's really on. But, they really should have set those expectations.
No, I know. I mean, I was on a Zoom call with an executive person with CVS Health out in Detroit, and she said she's only 69 and she has already gotten both of her vaccines in Detroit.
Yeah.
So I was pretty surprising because I thought we were a pretty progressive state with all of the medical centers that we have, with a hub of medical technology. And
well, I think they're ramping up now. I think they said yesterday they, really did far more vaccinations, and hopefully that continues.
And again, more doses. The Johnson & Johnson coming out is going to help alleviate some of the backlog. And I do think if a place like Marshfield Fairgrounds is efficient, and I understand that they did a wonderful job, and kudos to the organizers and the volunteers. Gillette also has done a wonderful job.
Yeah, no, I know. I have friends and family members that have gone to both Gillette and Marshfield and have said very positive things about both of them. It's just not enough vaccines around.
So that's the issue.
Right.
Any other questions on that? Because if I don't mind, we can go on to liaisons if you prefer, or I could talk about the senior center. It's up to you.
Oh, you mean go on to the liaisons?
If you
and then
want.
go back to yeah, why don't we do that? I feel like Karen, I'll jump right over to you.
Thank you, because I actually am going to planning board at 6:30, so I appreciate that. How is everybody?
Just Ducky.
What'd you say?
Just Ducky.
Just Ducky. Yeah, let me just turn off the ding donger on my phone there. I didn't realize Ann was going to jump off, but I just want to say she's a great hire. I worked with her last year or a couple of years ago, and if the whole being able to constituent services and helping folks, that's her DNA. So
and she didn't mention that tonight, and I should have asked her to. I forgot you would have known that. Yeah, she worked at the State House for one of the representatives as well.
We were in the bullpen together 2 years ago. So
and she'd also worked, I believe, for the sheriff's department out in Seattle. So she
did. She also worked for she was an executive administrative assistant to one of the top state reps out in Washington. She's got an unbelievable background. She really does.
Well,
so that's a great hire.
I mean, it was a slam dunk, really, for her.
Yeah, so she gets the how to build those relationships. So
yeah, she does.
Excited. I wish I had said that. Please, I know her, so but I
watch this.
Excited. So so what can I tell you? So on Council on Aging matters, and I'm sure Linda will get to this when she does the senior center update. The board met on Tuesday night when we were asked to approve the audiovisual contract, which we did do, but with under protest, basically. And we directed the town administrator, because we didn't want to slow down the project and we need the element, but we directed the town administrator to, to roll up his sleeves and go into battle with the OPM, because there's question about whether or not that was included in the contract or not. But we did not hold up the process, but that happened. I wanted to also mention we're going to be drafting. Any second now. It's been on my calendar all week to a revised townwide memorial plan. So everybody knows we've got benches and different things around town where people can, daily people call and say, I want to honor, Grandma Smith, and what can I do? And that program's just hummed along for years, but we literally ran out of official sites and that sort of thing. So with a new athletic field, with a new campus opportunities, all that stuff, we want to put together one whole basically shopping list. So if, somebody comes in, we can say, oh, if you want a bench, we need them here, here, and here, and this is the cost. So that's coming up, and I think that, it makes sense to roll in the naming opportunities at the senior center on that list. So unless anybody has an objection, it's all in the development stage, so obviously there'll be a chance to look at it all.
I was just going to say, we certainly would probably be purchasing more benches. It would be nice, even nicer if they were memorial benches and someone had a chance to either ask for that or we might, just because we have people who we've lost.
Yeah, memorial benches are just is just one option. So like we just approved a plaque in one of the dugouts for Mr. Murphy, who passed away. He was so involved with the baseball program. So we need to just sort of look through town as, we have plaques on flagpoles. We have, I'm sure at the library, once the outdoor garden is built, I know personally my mother-in-law would like to plant a tree there one day in her honor, that kind of thing. So we just need, I just want you to know that we're putting that all together right now and everybody will have a chance to look at it.
That's great. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really needed. And people, you'd be surprised how many calls a year. Gordon? Did he?
You're on mute, Gordon.
He's muted. Just kind of entertaining, so.
Gordon, if you wanted to share something, you're muted.
Nope.
Okay.
Let's see. The other thing, in my mailbox yesterday at Town Hall, the Historic Society, it's literally hot off the press. Mr. Glinsky, who's a retired teacher from, I think, Xavier Brothers, has been writing some history books. And the newest one is this one on our water system, our water supply.
Wow.
I'm going to read cover to cover because, that's what I do. But so that's available with the Historic Society, and it's timely and interesting. He did a great job. And then let's see. I want to let you guys know that the library will be open for browsing again on Tuesday.
Oh, wow. That's great to know.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. A lot of people are happy about that. And then my mail, I got this solicitation. And it's real, Gordon, I won't steal your thunder, but as a recipient, it's really well done. This is for naming opportunities at the campus. And I got the strong arm from Mr. Ball. So nicely done on that. That's all I have. If you guys have questions, I'd be happy to.
How long is the survey open for the Harbor Building?
We talked about that Tuesday. I think another 2 weeks. It'll be open for a little while, but we're over like 700 responses.
Wow.
Just fabulous.
Interesting.
700 people applying to wanting to secure that and use it.
No. So what we, I wish, what we, back in 2012, shortly after the town acquired that site and that building, there was a committee put together, did all the right things, interviewed people, did public outreach, said, what should we do with it? Whatever. They did this really great report. And then everything came to a screeching halt because all of a sudden we were doing all these other capital programs. We were building the new school, building the public safety, building the library. And as unfortunately as these things happen, it got low on the priority and shelved. So our board last July met and said, okay, what's really important to get done this year? And we're like, we need to think about this now. It's been sitting there. So we pulled out the report and said, hey, this is a really good report. And rather than start over, we use that as a launching pad, but we want to make sure the community still feels like they did when they did all that work. So the survey is like 4 questions. What do you think this should, here are the potential things for the site, which were called in 2014. Do you like them? What do you like about, how should we combine these? And do you have any other comments? And people have been great about it. And I'll give you the inside skinning, because on the 700 so far, they very much align with what people wanted to do in 2012, which is what I wanted to know. It's like, if things change, obviously, pandemics change people's minds, but it's very consistent with what folks thought that site should be used for. So, yeah. So
can you share that with us, or is that secret?
When it's done, when it's closed? We didn't really want to announce the results until we had closed the survey, but it will obviously be publicly presented. And then what we'll do as a board is use that as, okay, if 90% of the people think this is the direction we should go, we'll flesh it out and then present it to the public. Obviously it has to be approved and all of that. But I'm hoping that timeline will actually move the needle on this and we can get something really exciting done down there.
Sounds like a nice process.
Most of the things that are percolating up are very much CPC application kind of things. So it doesn't compete with other capital projects in town if that's how it shakes out. So that's exciting.
Yeah, right.
Anything at all in terms of what's happening with our small businesses downtown and how we might be able to support them? Or I know that there was obviously legislation done to give them an opportunity to have outdoor dining, but now that's gone because of the weather. So
she's not a plant, but I'm super glad you asked that question. So the Economic Development Commission, Scituate Loves Local, Chamber of Commerce, Merchants Associations have begun to meet once a week now. You might have seen they're public forums, so anyone can go on Monday. Usually they're Monday morning at 9:30. It's targeted to the business owners. And what's developing out of the concept is, let's now plan our spring and summer plan so that when the weather's good, we can throw open the doors to whatever degree we can and have things organized to encourage economic development and people to utilize our community. So those are in the beginning stages of conversation, but they really are moving along pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's very, very concerning. I mean, particularly since Sylvia's is out, and I saw workers in Rivas. I mean, is there any news on that?
Yeah, so what's interesting, both Rivas and Sylvia, they did not leave because of economic downturn. They left because the buildings were sold and the owners jacked up the rent. So
been there and done that. I mean, been there and been a victim.
Right, but that's kind of comforting in a way. I mean, we've actually had a net increase of businesses during COVID, which is bizarre, but it is. So the thought is, let's get everybody rowing in the same direction and use the momentum so that, obviously no one's having a great year, except the liquor stores. And so, if we can, I think the overriding theme right now is, definitely do First Fridays, but maybe we do Scituate Saturdays so that, people know there's something going on every Saturday. And
that would be fabulous.
Down and keep foot traffic higher that way. So that's in the beginning stages. If anybody wants to help with that effort, it's gonna be a lot of work between now and May. But I think if you look on the Chamber posts it, and I think it's pretty on the Scituate Town website too, the links to that meeting every Monday morning. But more hands, the better, because it has the potential to be very, very cool. As far as funds to assist businesses, the governor today announced the 7th tranche of small business loans from the state. The federal stuff's all dried up right now, but the state still has a fund. And I looked on it earlier today, and I know in this tranche, there were 3 businesses that availed themselves of that and got some, it goes straight to their operating costs so they can keep the doors open. So it is there. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Joan, do you want to give us your updates?
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting at all with South Elderly Services, but I just wanted to mention that the Rotary Club supplied face masks for all the clients for our Meals on Wheels. So we were able to put those in their bag. And then yesterday, Scituate Christmas gave us bags with Valentine cards and goodies for all our clients. So that was nice. It's always nice for them to see something extra in their bags.
Oh, good. Very good.
That's
Okay. And I see there's somebody on here with a phone number. Is Elaine Shambari on? No.
I do.
Okay.
Do you want me to remove the person?
No.
Gordon, we can jump to you for your update.
Okay. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. I did go to Marshfield Fairgrounds this morning. I got a COVID shot.
Oh, wow.
I know I'm only 63, but I'm a little older than that. I'm considered an essential worker. I still maintain my license to do fill-in work. So I was able to get my first shot today. The process is very, very smooth. It's slick. They do a great job. And I want to thank Karen. I know Karen's left, but I want to thank Karen for the plug on the mailing that she got in the last couple of days. And hopefully we get a return envelope from her. I'm sure we will. We sent out about 530 letters. They were all personalized. I've got a hardworking committee. We meet every week. And we divided up the mailing list by people that the individual committee members knew. So they picked people off the list that they knew, and a personal note was written on every one of those 550 letters. And we're seeing what I consider to be fantastic results. In the last 4 or 5 days, we've brought in about $10,000. We are at almost, if you take into account the 10,000 from Rotary for the bocce court and the 25,000 from FOSS, we're close to $100,000. We have 12 major contributors at this point. Those are people that have donated $2,500 or more. And I'm expecting that we'll see that number increase significantly. So I'm real happy with the campaign at this point. There will be a second mailing to a different group of people in about 3 weeks. That'll be about 1,200 people. So we will have sent out a total of close to 1,700 letters by the end of February. If some of you haven't received your letter yet, don't feel slighted. You all will get one. We're going to make sure that everyone, who we think is active in the center and has a soft spot in their heart for the center, everyone will get a letter. Is there background noise somewhere?
Yeah, I can hear it too.
I just asked everyone to mute themselves. Somebody has something going on in the background, so it's like really hard to hear you.
So we're continuing our campaign on social media. We're going to try to have a different message about once a week. That was working real well. The article that Ruth Thompson did in a week ago's Mariner was a phenomenal piece. When I spoke with Ruth about it, and she said, yes, she'd be happy to do one. I asked her, please make sure you touch base with Linda and Karen Canfield. And I gave her the names of a couple of contributors to see whether any of them would want to make a statement. And I don't think a contributor did, but Karen did and Linda did as well. So it was an article that was well received, and we've actually received some donations because of that article. So That's about what we have on our plate right now. The campaign will stay open until about the end of May.
May. Okay.
Nancy Holt said that the final note and/or bond probably won't be closed until early June. So we can run the campaign until then, and any proceeds that we collect will go directly to the building fund. Any funds that come in after that will go toward, a kitty, if you want to call it that, for Linda's programming. So we're getting great response, and would encourage any and all of you to help us participate, talk to people that you know, and help with the program. So that's about it. I'm not hearing anything.
Everybody's on mute.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Linda, I'm going to throw this back to you. Thanks for your update, Gordon. Linda's just going to update us on the building, and I know she's got a meeting to get to, so we'll try to sail through
Thank
this.
you. I'm sure this is what everybody wants to talk about. Thanks, Gordon. I know that seems to be going well. Quick rundown of some of the details, I guess. The furniture will begin to be delivered the week of the 22nd. So the contractors are right now estimating out about 2 weeks still for their work to be completed. Primarily that includes, toward the end, that's inspections. And then some outside work. The patio is kind of last. They can't paint the pergola, under certain weather conditions. The siding, I think there's still a little bit more to do on that. The brick and mortar, which has been a little bit of a concern. They've had to work on the coloring of the mortar and how it was being affected by the weather a little bit, and the shipments being delivered at different times from the manufacturer, where that seemed to come out a little differently. So that was a bit of an issue. But they leave, the furniture can be delivered. They still remain there in terms of doing the punch list items that we may come up with, they may come up with, so they are there for a while still. The IT equipment, he will start to try to migrate us over. We are hoping to move in right now the first week in March. We'll see, hopefully that timetable works out. And as long as we can be there, there's still some other things yet to be done. But IT is one of them. Audiovisual, I will talk about that because Karen brought it up. And it's been mentioned in other places. So originally, audiovisual was part of the contract for the general contractor. That was what was intended. The electrician who won the contract or was hired as the subcontractor was well under the other subcontractor bidders. They got the job, of course. Later, they disputed whether the audiovisual was part of the scope for the project that they had bid on. So they claimed they didn't have to do it. Our OPM said they did, but as it went on and on, anyway, they had to cut bait really because again, it was going to delay the project even more. So that's why we're so late with the audiovisual. They had to go out to bid. I met the winning bid this time. They're from Billerica. Anyway, very nice, very nice. I think they'll do a great job. It includes for the multipurpose room, the ceiling projector and the screen that is an automated pull-down screen for that room for presentations. It includes the speakers in the ceiling for the sound system, and it includes the ALS assistive listening systems or hearing assist systems. So we're getting one for the multipurpose room, actually two, one for each side. It includes for the fitness room ceiling speaker system as well for if an instructor wants to use a microphone and music, and it comes through the ceiling speakers. also an assistive listening system. It includes, for program rooms 1 and 2, the TV displays and sound bars. There's no ceiling speakers in those rooms. An assistive listening system for one of the rooms, and I'm bringing the other one that I have existing at the senior center now for the other room. It also includes a TV for the game room and a sound bar, but that's all. And it also includes a television display for behind the reception desk for running slides of announcements and a variety of things just to make people aware of. So it's sort of more of an internal thing. I guess we're discussing whether we will connect it to cable or not. So sometimes we're not, and sometimes we are. Some are just considered presentation vehicles. I am also bringing an existing TV that we have here and sound bar, which we're going to put into the second floor conference room. That's it. So more or less, I mean, there's a lot of wiring involved. So that's what it involves. It sounds like a lot of money, but there's a lot to it. So I'm sorry about the pushback that we were getting, but had it been in the contract would have been that much more. And I do understand from the OPM that by going out to bid, we actually reduced the costs that had originally been considered as part of the contract. So in the end, we might have made out. It's hard to say, and I guess that will remain to be seen. But nicely enough, they did approve it, and so it is ongoing. That schedule will be, I think I included it here, but that schedule will be ordering, items through February, and then work beginning for them March, installation about the third week, mid-March. So hopefully we'll be there for that, just because it'll be nice to and we'll get training on that as well. Kitchen is still ongoing, but I did have an inspection of the kitchen, the first initial inspection, and that passed, although he did want me to include something we didn't anticipate, which is lockers for kitchen staff, which is a little unfortunate. And then I did receive some guidance about what to order and what might be preferable for some things. I need a little help with that. It's too bad I don't already have the kitchen manager, but that's been something that I will say Maureen Dinsmore, certainly as a volunteer and a knowledgeable kitchen person, has been helpful to me in terms of current inventory and what we might need. The interior looks great, and I do hope, this is tentative, I need to say tentative, but I would love to be able to bring the board for a walkthrough next Thursday afternoon. I guess the time would be more or less 3 o'clock, which has been the case. What I thought is if they, like I said, it's a busy place, and there's still a lot of stuff everywhere, and the staircase still is not complete, and they're doing a beautiful job. The built-in bookcases that the Friends are funding for us, those are going in today and tomorrow, so those look beautiful too. But there's still some unfinished work. That said, before furniture, I kind of thought would be nice before, even though it's going to be wonderful with the furniture. I just thought getting a sense of the space before that, and again, that's only would be Thursday, Friday. So I hope it works out. That's my plan for those interested in that. Because you haven't been yet for the most part, just a couple of you. So.
What time did you say, Linda? Was it Thursday at what time?
It would be at least 3 o'clock. That would be the earliest.
So Linda, are you going to send out like an email confirmation once?
I will. I will confirm. That's what we will try to plan on that. That's the tentative. I got one okay. I just need to get a couple more okays, I'm sure. I will also mention, if you're interested, I guess, I thought I put it in here. Maybe I didn't. The generator, everybody, it's unfortunate, but it did have to go where it is, just in case you want the party line. I mean, it did have to go where it was. I will admit, and for the most part, I guess everybody would claim this, but I did not know the size that was going in. The lovely stone around it and the beautiful wooden trellis, it was beautifully designed. It sounded great. It just, the generator is a little bigger than that, a little taller, just a little taller. And who knew about the stacks that were required that are coming out of it? So somebody did, but wasn't completely communicated. So we're all a little bit, taken aback, but we hope it will blend into the landscape and the building and people will not necessarily notice it. But originally, as you remember, the design was for the building to be front facing with that in the back. And then when it had to turn, there's literally no back to the building. So either it was the abutters side or the green, which nobody wanted to do. And then there is the B wing already on the other side, and that's parking lot. So it literally was the only place to put it. So unfortunate, but at the same time, usually those things do blend into, you just start noticing. I've just never seen one this big. So
it's always trees.
That's the explanation for that. And it could be, maybe we'll add some. The bocce court is in, but the stone dust is still coming. The patio pavers are last, the end of that week the end of this week, I guess. If not next week, they might not be in the end of this week. They might be the Monday next. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? No. Okay. Everybody's on mute. You're very quiet.
Yeah. So thank you. Those are project updates. Anyone have any new business they wanted to raise before we adjourn? No. Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I second the motion.
Okay. We're going to do a roll call. Janice Desmond, aye. Leslie James.
Leslie James, aye.
Laurie Brady.
Laurie Brady, aye.
Pat Carlton.
Pat Carlton, aye.
John Miller.
Yes.
Susan Kelly.
Susan Kelly, aye.
Marie Fricker.
Marie Fricker, aye.
Great. So with that, meeting adjourned at 6:47.
All right. Well, that ended up fast.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Janice.
Yes, yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy